Well, the race is on to be the backup quarterback at Georgia and perhaps the starting quarterback at Georgia. You never really know when you're going to get called on in this program. As I've discussed many times, Georgia's only once, I think, in Kirby's time, finished the season with the same quarterback as it started with, and that was in 2018 and 19. So it's not, it's more often than not the starting quarterback at the beginning of the season, whether it's Grayson Lambert, Jacob Eason, Dwan Mathis, or JT Daniels, they have not finished the season. And there's been multiple, obviously, the math would dictate multiple seasons where um, more than one quarterback has started. So the only quarterback who has gone the length of a year was Jake Fromm, and that happened twice in 2018 and 19. I think earlier I said it's only happened once, but it's happened twice. It's only happened with one quarterback. Make sure you're picking up DAWGSTRUCTION. The link is down below. It talks about Georgia's 2021 national championship season, 80 pages, full color. People will not stop talking about the images in the book. You can't find them anywhere else. That's why they're talking about them so much, and they're good. They are good, but right now we've got the competition between three guys to be the backup quarterback, and that would be Brock Vandagriff, and this is in no order: Carson Beck, Brock Vandagriff, and Gunnar Stockton. It's going to be hard for Gunnar Stockton to come to campus, understand everything, and take over the number two spot. There's no question that he has very good abilities. If you watched him play, the first time I saw Gunnar Stockton play, um, I thought it was a little small for my liking, a little bit short. But he made that night. He made a ton of plays. This was when he was committed. This was actually before he was committed to South Carolina. Um, and then a year ago, oh, well, 2 years ago, when they took on Brock Vandagriff up at Raven, I think the game was, and defeated Prince Avenue. Gunner probably played better than Brock, but you could see the potential of Brock Vandagriff in that game. And then a season ago with Gunner, just in total control. And I saw him play pace. So this is one of the better teams that he would have dealt with. I saw him play pace late in the year. They played pace twice, if I'm not mistaken. And the more I saw him, the more I liked him. And the same could be said for Brock Vandagriff. I watched him a lot in 2020. I mean, it was a consistent thing. And there has been obviously a lot of local support for Brock Vandagriff because of his ties to the Athens area. When you watch him play, he has his ability to run and be damaging with the run is probably better than all four quarterbacks at Georgia. And that's saying something because Stetson can really run. I mean, that's the reason why that is one of the major reasons why he was the starting quarterback at Georgia in 2021 when it all came down to it. And Gunnar Stockton can do some devious things with his legs too. But in terms of getting down the field the fastest, it's Vandagriff. His speed is it's really hard to put into words. If you watch last year's G Day and him get around the corner on the Georgia defenders, that would tells you all you need to know. I mean, the guy has some serious wheels. But it's not just that. I mean, it's the ability to play quarterback. Over time, um, he just like Stockton impressed me the more I watched him play. But everyone that plays quarterback has issues. That's just what it is. But with um, with Vandagriff playing at the lowest level of GHSA, that doesn't really matter to me. He showed his arm talent he's very gifted with the arm. But it really is his ability to move and use his feet as a weapon that changes the ball game. He is not different than Deshaun Watson in that way. He's not different than Johnny Manziel, although a larger person. And unlike Watson, Vandagriff will punish you with his shoulders. He will hit you with his body. And he had to learn his senior season how to play the right way. And what I mean by that is he had to take care of his body as the season went on. So those two guys are not different in that way. Three of Georgia's four scholarship quarterbacks have the capability to move in a way that we've not seen from Jake Fromm or Jacob Eason. Certainly not, the guys in the most recent past. They can run better than Aaron Murray did when he was a freshman. And then you got Carson Beck, who has clearly made is another spring here, and people are very positive about Carson and the way that he's moving forward. This time a year ago, it looked like he was uh, the clear number two, and that he was possibly going to be taking snaps away from JT Daniels. As it turns out, the person that took snaps away from JT Daniels was Stetson Bennett. That people are taking snaps away means that someone could take snaps away from Stetson this fall. That's not out of the realm of possibility. With Carson Beck, you have what people on the inside say the most gifted thrower. I've heard that more than a couple of times. And maybe that's an opinion thing. I don't know. But the people that tell me that, I trust them. He has been successful on the high school level, winning a state championship in Florida's largest classification at a high school that is not known for winning much of anything, and certainly not in football. So Mandarin, he took them all the way, and a lot of it was from Carson's play. But I think the challenge for Carson Beck, whether you're talking about 2022 or 2023, is taking the momentum he builds in the offseason and translating it into success when the band is playing. Um, I think the summer of 2021 must have not been a good one for him. He must have regressed in some way because uh, that to me is the only explanation for him being where he was at the spring to where he wound up in the early fall, really. Uh, Maybe he's having to learn how to compete. Young guys in college, that can often be an issue where you don't know how to compete. What I mean by that is you don't know how to recover from bad days because in high school you don't really have a lot of them, and that takes time. And you threw an interception. I mean, okay, so that's irrelevant to the next play. That's where I no one has said this to me about Carson Beck, but I do wonder, having dealt with college myself, is that what he's learning along the way? I mean, you can't compare Stetson Bennett in 21 to the Stetson Bennett we saw before that because it's not the same player. The athleticism is similar, but the ability to move forward, focus, and play quarterback better, we just it was astronomical the improvement that Stetson had in a given amount of time. So those three guys fighting out to position themselves to take over the starting spot if something happens to Carson, or if they just straight up beat him out. Um, you're not going to do that from number three, probably. I mean, we've seen now Stetson maneuver his way into the starting position because he's been ready, and the results speak for themselves. A national championship for the first time in 4 decades, but you know there will be another quarterback that wins the national championship at Georgia, and it probably won't be Stetson, although he has a pretty good chance considering everything coming into 2022. Most quarterbacks are probably not going to win the national championship. Bryce Young is probably not going to win the national championship at Alabama, but they're the most likely to, but probable. I don't know if there's such a thing anymore. It's hard to pull that. Trevor Lawrence won one national championship at Clemson. I'm old enough to remember people asking if they would ever lose a game. I mean, the hyperbole gets stupid after a while in college football. So, unless you're, there's been so many good quarterbacks that did not win the national championship that played this last 12-year stretch from Cam Newton on. I mean, from the 2010 period on, uh, that it's nuts. I mean, Tua spent season not winning a national championship. He played an entire season as a starter and did not win the national championship that season. People forget his legacy. This is a little bit rough, but his legacy is that one throw against Georgia. I mean, that's what people remember him about. They will not remember the next year when he didn't play as hot when it mattered. So, um, Joe Burrow obviously had some learning curve at LSU. It happens. I mean, no one can confuse Stetson Bennett without having a learning curve. Mac Jones at Alabama. These are all guys that had to learn along the way. What are the backup guys, the current backups at Georgia, doing to where they have their Mac Jones, Joe Burrow moments? None of these guys are Trevor Lawrence, walk on water coming out of high school guys. That's not who they are. So, what are they doing to get ready for their future? Check out Dog Instruction below. We'll see you on the website.